Good evening. It is 5:30. We're going to call the regular council meeting to order. Remind you to turn your cell phones to silent or vibrate. And then please let's all stand and do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Chris, would you take the roll, please?
Councilmember Rowe.
Here.
Councilmember Stevens.
Here.
Councilmember Strebe.
Here.
Councilmember Berg.
Here.
Councilmember Dalby. Mayor Lazio.
Here.
Items on the consent agenda. Minutes from regular meeting number 23 on July 3rd, 2018 as presented. Acknowledge June financial report and payment of bills as submitted by the Finance Department. Approve the appointment of Jelaine Olson to the position of wastewater plant lab supervisor at the Water Pollution Control Facility effective July 2nd, 2018. Approve the grant applications 2018 for the Wapello County Foundation. Approve the purchase of 2 vertical loop reactor VLR gates from Burt Gurney and Associates for $10,510. Approve purchase of new Fairbanks 4x3 model 4523C sludge pump for the wastewater pollution control facility from Zimmer and Francescon Incorporated for $13,080 plus $625 for shipping. Resolution number 196, 2018, setting August 21st, 2018 as the date of a public hearing on the disposition of city-owned property located at 405 Lillian. Resolution number 197, 2018, setting August 7th, 2018 as the date of a public hearing on the disposition of city-owned property located at 417 Lillian. Resolution number 199, 2018, setting August 7th, 2018 as the date of a public hearing and rescinding resolution number 172, 2018 on the disposition of city-owned property located at 604 East Main Street. Resolution number 204, 2018, approving the contract bond and certificate of insurance for the beach renovations Phase 3 project 2018 Contract A with RG Construction for $143,700. Resolution number 205, 2018, approving the contract bond and certificate of insurance for the beach renovations Phase 3 project 2018 Contract B with Christner Contracting for $69,085. Resolution number 206, 2018, approving the contract bond and certificate of insurance for the beach renovations Phase 3 project 2018 Contract C with Christner Contracting for $36,081. Resolution number 207, 2018, approving the contract bond and certificate of insurance for the beach renovations Phase 3 project 2018 Contract D with Von Mannen Electric for $49,400. Setting August 7th, 2018 as the date of a public hearing for the Ottumwa Facade Improvements Project on the status of funded activities within the CDBG grant. There were no beer or liquor applications for this meeting.
Is there a motion for the consent agenda?
So moved. Second.
Okay, take the roll.
Councilmember Rowe.
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens.
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe.
Yes.
Councilmember Berg.
Yes.
I would just make a comment before we move to the item C. I want to thank Bob and Christy. I was talking with a clerk from another community, and I think we often take our financial report for granted. And the other clerk was commenting that they don't get a detailed report of the expenses and checks written, and I think our staff do a great job, and we should recognize that. So again, just thank you for the good work you do. Okay, item C, we need approval for tonight's agenda. Is there such a motion?
So move.
Second.
Thank you.
Councilmember Rowe.
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens.
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe.
Yes.
Councilmember Berg.
Yes.
At this time, I'd like to call on Andy Wartenberg, who is our recently hired CVB director, who's going to give the council an update on what's happening at the Convention and Visitors Bureau. So, Andy, you can introduce yourself and you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and members of the council. Again, I am Andy Wartenberg, Executive Director of the
Greater Ottumwa Convention and Visitor Bureau. And what I would like to do is give everyone an update every couple months, just to let you know what kind of initiatives we're working on. And of course, we welcome your comments. So I'd like to just take a few minutes to do that. And you go to the next slide, please. I want to start with something that we've already put in place. This is a digital marketing campaign. As you can see, we have really upped our game when it comes to digital marketing. This is really the future of marketing a tourism destination. And specifically, we have instituted weekly email blasts. We're going out to about 1,700 travel professionals right now. And bi-weekly, we do on the left, it's a little hard to see, but we do events that are going on in Ottumwa. But on the other week, as you'll see on the right, what we'll do is we'll take what we call a sales subject, be it groups, be it recreation, be it whatever, dining, and we send those out to travel professionals as well. I think the real important thing about these email blasts is, you know, not only to have this great visual content, but also to keep us out there consistently. It's very important. With Facebook, I want to mention we do several posts a week to promote local events, but we've also started doing what are influencer posts. Again, same basic thing. What we're doing is posting reasons for people to want to come and visit Ottumwa right there. The nice thing about this, we're at about 5,600 followers right now. We always tag Travel Iowa, Iowa Tourism, which has about 155,000, and quite often they're doing a repost. So we're getting a good thing there. And you can see the third thing right there. We've gone back on Instagram. Our research has indicated that younger people are not looking at Facebook anymore. They're looking at Instagram right there. And finally, this is something I really enjoy doing. We're doing this in partnership with Iowa Tourism. It's called Ottumwa Stories. In my discussions with the tourism folks in Des Moines, they told me that they want more experiential content. So every other week we do an Ottumwa story. It's a blog and it features not just a business, but why that business is important to the community. For instance, we've done Market on Main, we've done Graham's, we've done places like that. I'm really happy to report we accompanied that with a Facebook post. And I'm really happy to report that we've been the featured blog in Iowa Tourism's website the last 2 times. The great thing about this whole digital marketing campaign is the total cost for all of this per month is about $66. That is what we pay for our email platform. This is just basically sweat equity right here. But we have that in place right now. I want to also talk a little bit about some of our group sales initiatives. When I came here, when I first started, you remember that's a high priority for me. I think most of you know that we instituted the Ottumwa All-Star program. This is now in place. We've been featured on television with this. Basically what it does is it goes out to the community and says, look, if you have a group, you're a member of an organization, go and advocate for it, bring them to Ottumwa. And we've incentivized that. And I'm happy to report we have a really strong lead based on this from the Missouri, Iowa, Ford Association. I'm meeting with them next week. Also, our email blast, we've kind of expanded our reach there, not to just meeting planners, to associations, to clubs and function groups. I think it's really important if we're trying to sell this destination for groups is we have to keep that pipeline filled. I mean, everyone here knows that travel and tourism, be it to whether it's Las Vegas or Ottumwa, is a function of the economy. It's very important for us to be out there and have as many leads as we can. I've also started sales calls this past Friday. I met with 5 meeting planners in Ottumwa. You know, again, I want to get our name out there. We've also been working with the Bridgeview Center on redeveloping our RFP and proposals. In the past, we've basically responded to an inquiry. What we'd like to do is be a little more proactive about selling this. If we know of anything, we want to send them some information. Call it a self-generated request for proposal. And finally, I have up there historical tour. I think one of the things we're lacking when it comes to groups is that when they come here, they do their business, they're looking for something to do. We need to have more activities in place. So the CVB is taking it upon themselves to put together a historical walking tour downtown. So see, these are some of the group initiatives we're working on right now. You could go next one. Also, obviously, we're working at the leisure end as well. And we all know that a challenge we face is getting more people here on the weekends. We are just finishing up our Let Us Surprise You Dollars program right here. I'm sorry, that's not a very good visual representation, but what this is we have gone to local businesses, asked them for a coupon. We are distributing that to all our hotels. They will distribute it to visitors who come here on Friday and Saturday and check into our hotels. And obviously, we'll be promoting this, through social media and on our Facebook page. That is now in the proof stage. That'll be in the hotels on August 1st. The other thing I really think I'd like about this program is we're getting local businesses involved in selling the destination. We have also enhanced and increased our listings on the Iowa tourism page, and we're looking to do a second promotion this fall. Website redevelopment. I did mention when I first came here that our website desperately needed to be redone. We have signed a contract with Neapolitan Labs. We will be redoing the website. This is just a basic idea of some of the things we're going to do. Obviously, our visual content not only needs to be enhanced, it needs to be modernized. We have to have more content, more experiential and sales-oriented content, stronger home and landing pages. Well, we really don't have a landing page on our website right now. More selling point tabs. And I think the last one is probably the most important is now, so many people now do not go to a laptop to look at a website. They look on their mobile device. So we are designing this website with the idea that it's going to be on a mobile device and build out from there. The contract has been signed. We have our first design meeting with Neapolitan in 2 weeks. And you'll notice on the bottom there, hopefully I'll have some good news at my next update. There is, the cost of this, by the way, is about $7,000. There is grant money available from Iowa Tourism up to $5,000. So these grants are going to be open on August 1st. I'm going to apply for $5,000. So that's the website. And next one. Okay, this is very important. Travel Iowa is a very, very great resource for this. And this has been a decision I've made. You'll see in fiscal year 2018, we spent about $4,600 in display ads. Okay, basically putting ads in magazines, which is fine. It is my belief that that is no longer an effective means for advertising our destination for a couple of reasons. Number one, obviously, people don't read magazines as much, but more importantly, it is next to impossible to measure the ROI on a display ad. So it has been our decision to replace display ads almost completely with a digital program. Now, the great thing is this is a cooperative partnership with Travel Iowa right here. The items that I have here, this is what we're doing for this year. You see the total projected is about 2,700. The sponsored listings have already started. Google Network Ads remarketing will start in January. A boost will start in October, and geofencing will start also at the beginning of the year. But you can see the price there is $2,700, and it's about quadrupling our reach right there. So that's our partnership with Travel Iowa. Regional marketing, this is something I have not had a lot of time to work on, but I think it's very, very important. I have met with my counterparts in the following cities, and we have agreed everyone wants to work together. We haven't taken it a lot farther. I hope to have some more progress on this in my next update. But the basic idea is to have some sort of kind of branded trail for the entire region. I must say, I had a visitor here this weekend, and I spent one day in Ottumwa, and I spent the other day basically going to all these places, and we kept saying to each other, what a great weekend getaway this would be. So this is something I have made contact with all my counterparts, and something we'll be working on in the future. Okay, just a couple notes on the beach. We've been trying to help out Gene and his team wherever we could. One thing we were able to do almost immediately is there was a beautiful video done by Isaac that was just sitting there. We were able to embed that on the website. We've worked with Larissa over at the beach on a couple website upgrades. For instance, we're looking at putting in a events tab as well. Social media fixes. Apparently there's a phantom Facebook page out there, and our partners at Neapolitan said they're going to try and fix that and get that out. And also, this was great because we've been working with Travel Iowa. If you look up on the top left-hand corner there, that is their email blast. And you can see that the beach was featured on the cover of it right there. So we will continue to help and assist the beach wherever we can. I got a blank one, I think. There should be. Okay, this is the second and last thing I want to talk about. I mean, we talked about this. I want to tell you that customer service, we all know, is important. We just don't want to get folks here. We want to keep them here. The second week I was on the job, we had a customer service trainer come in. We paid $1,700 for it. We had about 100 people there, and it was okay. But number one, only 10% of the people that attended that meeting were what I call frontliners. You know, people that worked in the hotels, worked in the restaurants, worked at Hy-Vee, worked at Casey's, had interactions with visitors. So our destination advocacy training, and the other problem with that customer service training is they talk about generic customer points, but they never talk about a buy-in. In other words, if I'm working the night shift at the Hampton Inn, what's in it for me? Okay, why should I want to do this? So what we're doing with this destination advocacy training is three things. Obviously, the basic customer service and engagement skills, but we're also going to teach folk two things: why they're engaging with the customer, how do you advocate for Ottumwa. We do have some methods and procedures for that, and finally, how do we ask for referrals? You know, it's not a world where you go home and tell your family. It's a world where you post something and it goes viral. Right now, I am writing the script for this, and we will put together a PowerPoint and hope to have that done probably by the beginning of October. Here's the difference. I think it's very important. I could rent a room at Bridgeview and I could have everyone come, but I don't think that's going to work. We are actually going to go out to the businesses and do the training on the business. It's very time sensitive, but I think it's the only way that this is going to be effective. Okay, last slide. I want to mention events. We just finished up ML Major League Eating when I came on board, and you know, Melissa did a great job with that. Right now, I think everybody's aware of WHO RVTV. It's basically they come to 5 cities before the Iowa State game and do a party each night. They selected Ottumwa for Friday, September 7th. We've been working with the mayor and Ottumwa High and putting together an event at Bridgeview Center. And we are moving along. We're meeting on this. We're actually going to do not just a street party, but we're going to do a series of competitions between Iowa and Iowa State fans. And whichever team wins, that's going to go to a high school student as a scholarship. And finally, this is going to be a big project. I'm going to need the entire community and back me on this one. But if we're going to do a signature event, it is my belief it has to be a video game capital event. I know this has been tried in the past. I've been working with the folks at Old School Video, and we are going to piggyback and promote their event this year with a hope of, in the fall of 2019, having that video game event here in Ottumwa. Anyway, those are just some of the things we're working on. I think it's important that everyone be updated on that. I will try and get here. I will be here every 2 months. You know where my office is. My door's open. So does anybody have any questions or comments?
I'd just like to say fantastic job. Keep it
Oh,
up.
thank you, Councilman. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I'd like to echo Councilman Rowe's sentiments, Andy. When you brought that plan to us last time regarding the percentage, I didn't get an opportunity to tell you what a great plan I thought it was and the hard work that you put in putting that together. And for what it's worth, you know, I was disappointed in my vote. And personally, I think that you guys deserve more. And I think that these type of efforts are going to show the results that when we come back and meet at a different time when the timing's better, then we're going to take another look at that. But love the video game idea. One of my neighbors is actively involved in that, and I think that that has a great opportunity for success. So thanks for your efforts.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Andy. We'll see you again, and keep up the good work. And we certainly want the community to work with you on the RVTV scheduled for September 7th. So thanks for that. This time I'd like to call on City Administrator Andy Morris to talk about a project he's working with.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor and Council, I sent a message, an email out to council members day before yesterday, and this relates to a program you heard me mention that Councilman Dalby and I have undertaken of recent, and that's clearing junk, trash, and debris from lots. And that for the most part, those are residential lots, but we get permission from those folks before we move on and remove that. That's a problem we face in this community. But I work closely with Jody on this. I'd like to tell you that her version of it was better than mine. So we'll read, mine was too wordy. So I'll read you the item and then share this with council. If you have any questions or comments, I'll be happy to answer those, Mayor. And it states very simply this: are you aware of a homeowner who faces financial or physical challenges that make it difficult to maintain your yard? Would you like help removing fallen tree limbs, unwanted items from your yard? City Hall has volunteers, individuals, and organizations that would like to assist. Call City Hall during the regular business hours, and the city manager's number is listed, so you don't have to worry about council members getting phone calls. But I do want to be clear on one point. I've had some correspondence with Councilman Dalby and some of the elements of the John Deere Union, the 74 Union, Local 74, and they want to work and partner with us to start removing some of these items, the junk and trash and debris from these lots. Councilperson Berg and I talked about this before the meeting this evening. Councilman Stevens is the only one who has replied so far. This really is an administrative matter, but all items being equal, we're going to put this on our website. And as I said, when these items come to the fore, will come directly to my office, and then we'll try and address these in an expeditious manner.
Great.
Go ahead, Mayor.
Okay. Any questions for Andy? Thank you, Andy. Appreciate that. Item E is an opportunity for anyone that wants to address an item on the agenda. Did you receive any notice? Okay. Then let's move to item F, departmental recommendations.
Approve the purchase of 10 stainless steel toilets totaling $14,437.50 for the Parks Department. Recommendation: approve the purchase of 10 stainless steel toilets for the total purchase price of $14,437.50.
Okay, is there a motion?
Move the recommendation as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Okay, good evening, Gene. You have the floor.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Parks Department received 2 bids for 10 stainless steel toilets. Plum Supply bid $16,087.30, and Hickenbottom bid $14,437.50. If approved, these toilets will be installed in the restrooms in Wildwood Park, Ottumwa Park, and the Jimmy Jones Shelter. The porcelain toilets, urinals, and sinks in these restrooms have been broken several times in the past. The stainless steel toilets are vandal-proof and indestructible. There is $16,357.27 budgeted for these toilets in the current CIP. The bids are attached at the July 3rd, 2018 City Council meeting. The council tabled this item requesting more information on vandalism to the toilets. Park board minutes and park maintenance reports dating back to 2005 are attached. At their meeting on July 10th, 2018, all 4 park board members agreed that stainless steel toilets should be installed in park restrooms, although this was not an agenda item.
Okay, any questions for Gene? Comments?
I guess I'll start.
Okay.
Gene, thank you for attaching all of the park maintenance supervisor reports and board minutes and everything. And looking through this, there are several times where replacing vandalized stuff in restrooms is listed throughout this. Is all of those broken toilets, or is it just general vandalism? And the reason that I'm asking is because in looking through these, since 2005 that you have these listed, there seems to be only 3 specific spots where a toilet in and of itself was damaged and need replaced.
Yeah, some of them were toilets, some of them were urinals, and some of the vandalism was other damage. For example, graffiti on the walls, people trying to set toilets and other portions of the restroom on fire, clogging toilets. Sometimes they would take a hammer and just beat a toilet and break it. Then the whole toilet would have to be pulled. So I don't remember the exact number, but I remember more than 3.
Okay. So if you had to guess, what would you guess the number to be?
The numbers I remember were 3 at Wildwood, 3 in Ottumwa Park, and 2 at Jimmy Jones. And that includes urinals. And I remember clearly about 6 or 7 years ago, there were 2 or 3 broken at Wildwood Park all in one weekend.
I would just comment, the park board did have a rather lengthy discussion about this item, and I think, when you look at our Parks Department, it has been severely cut with both personnel and dollars. Looking at the long-term best interest, they were very supportive of Gene's recommendation to replace these and put them in, and it is a CIP item that has been approved already. I would really encourage the council to think favorably about following the recommendation in this particular case and getting it done so that our staff can move on to other things that have to be done. And they have their hands full literally with keeping up with grass and weeds, and repair work is very hard for them to have to intersperse when it's done on a weekend. So, other comments and questions for Gene?
Okay, I've read through this. A lot of the vandalism was at the restroom that was downtown, where the River Hills Medical Center is now. They were forever setting that thing on fire, tearing it up. So that was a lot of the vandalism. But even if there was 8 toilets, you could replace all 8 of those porcelain toilets for the cost of 1 stainless steel. I guess my opinion is if we were building a new restroom, I would welcome stainless steel fixtures. But it seems like we're putting a $1,500 stainless steel toilet in an old, outdated restroom. They're painted up nice, but they're not the best shape inside. For the amount of money spent, or wanting to spend, I just can't get my arms around this one. And also the fact that we don't know for sure, if you give $15,000 for the 10 toilets, what's it going to cost to install each one? And Gina said $200 to $300. So that, that's $1,700 to $1,800 a piece. I just can't support this. I'm sorry.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
And just to be clear, and appreciate Councilman Stevens' remarks, And that is, from a staff perspective, we still support the idea of certainly buying the stainless steel toilets, but ultimately it's a council decision. It's a legislative decision. As I shared at the previous council meeting, and I will share with you again as it relates to stainless steel toilets, when I was in Moberly, Missouri, our restrooms, the ones in the park, had stainless steel toilets. And the reason they did is because that very problem of vandalism is as Mr. Rashi pointed out, you can take a hammer to them and you can perhaps dent them, but you're not going to shatter a stainless steel toilet. And they are more expensive. There's no question about that. But whether it would be 1 or 2 or even 10 of those toilets, it just seems to me a better investment with the CIP funds, a better investment to buy something that's going to be durable and sustainable. These are CIP funds, so they have to be spent, as council well knows, on capital improvement projects. So that we could steer them towards other items, but all items being equal, you'd want to keep them specific to the park. But I just want to reiterate again, from my perspective, and that Mr. Rashi as well, support the idea of purchasing the stainless steel toilets. Again, Mayor, that's a decision for council to make, and we'll abide by that. Thank you.
Okay. Sure.
And this is geared towards Mr. J, if I could ask him a question. Could you remind council where the CIP funds ultimately come from? And is there a cost of using that CIP funding?
That money came from the 2017 bond issue. And yes, there's interest.
And do you know what the effective rate of that interest is?
2%.
2%? Okay, thank you. So I guess my point is in this is ultimately, granted it's not going to be much, but ultimately these are going to cost a little bit more than $14,000 once we consider the interest rate on those also. So it's hard to reconcile given what we've been presented with, that the stainless steel toilets are a sound investment versus the cost of them. That's the problem. That I understand that they're definitely indestructible. They'll be a nice feature, but it's really hard to reconcile the cost against the value that we're not really gaining at this point.
I got one more comment, Your Honor.
Okay, go ahead.
There's a big need at the Jimmy Jones shelter, and Gene, I think, is probably aware of this. For the acoustics is not good, and we had a game plan where we were going to do some work to that. We're going to move the stage to the opposite end, so the sound of the music didn't go out over the campground. It went toward the mall area, because we have campers that leave when they set up music because they can't stand the loudness. That's happened more than once. And there's a lot of work that needs to be done to the Jimmy Jones shelter. To me, is probably at this point in time more important to get that done right now. Not to say we can't come back later with stainless steel, but I think that's more important to me to get that done quicker.
I just, I think I appreciate the notion and think that the stainless steel toilets would be great, but I'm concerned about the cost as well. And, wondered if perhaps it'd be worth trying to investigate other bids for those toilets. Just from some research, it seems like a high number. So it's something I'd like to see happen, but just want to make sure we're doing our due diligence on spending money appropriately.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask Councilman Berg. I used to work for Kohler Company, and they're a global plumbing manufacturer, and spent a lot of time with their products and writing about them. And I just wonder, we have these 2 bids from Plumb Supply and Hickenbottom, but I wondered if we've reached out to manufacturers and dealers that deal with certain brands and have investigated different price points for the same type of product. It could be stainless steel toilet, but maybe there's an opportunity to reduce the price of these.
Mr. Mayor, if I can just add a point of clarification, that Councilman Stevens' point is well taken, but when you're looking at the amount of money that we're talking about, this work that's being discussed about the Jones Shelter we're in the early stages of it. I can't speak for finance and don't want to put Bob J on the spot, but again, there are certain set aside monies, as I recall, in the neighborhood of approximately $20,000 that would pay for, I think, with a little room to spare, the improvements that are being discussed and possibly effectuated in that shelter. So I would draw a difference between mixing and matching the CIP.
Correct. We have $20,000 that has been sitting there for a couple of years. It originally was bonded for the volunteer paint program, which didn't get funded by Legacy. So it was reprogrammed for the Jimmy Jones Shelter, and it sat there for a year or so because nothing's happened on that. Keep in mind that if you're really going to plan on doing something with the Jimmy Jones Shelter, it's not going to be something that's going to cost $20,000. It's going to be $150,000. So you would want to be looking at that at a future bond issue to be able to do it and do it right. So,
thank you, Mayor.
Okay. Okay, council, we have a motion on the floor to accept the recommendation as presented. Are you ready to vote? Do you have any other questions? Okay, take the roll.
Councilmember Rowe,
No.
Councilmember Stevens,
No.
Councilmember Strebe,
No.
Councilmember Berg,
No.
Okay, motion fails, and we'll move on to item 2.
request from the Ottumwa Community School District to waive the construction fees for a new home to be built at 1230 South Sheridan. Recommendation: approve the request for a waiver of construction fees for the new housing project at 1230 South Sheridan.
Is there a motion?
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Thank you. Jody, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Well, as you've all heard, the Ottumwa School District is going to re-energize their home construction program, and part of the support that the City Council has traditionally provided was to waive the new construction fees for their building permit, their heating, cooling, electrical and plumbing permit. And we estimate the cost of those permits to be anywhere from $1,100 to $1,200 total. And we think that that's a pretty good investment to get a brand new house built on this vacant lot.
Any questions for Jody?
Just one question. We talked about this earlier at the staff meeting, and that is my understanding. I support this. I think it's a good idea, but all items being equal on these homes, would we likely be waiving these fees in the future on some of the homes? Because I understand the school district is starting to pick these up at a pretty good clip.
They're wanting to build one a year, and so I would anticipate bringing you a request for a waiver of those fees every time that they build a new house.
And that's something staff would support.
Okay, you ready to vote? Okay, take the roll.
Councilmember Rowe,
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens,
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe,
Yes.
Councilmember Berg.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Bid review and award contract for demolition, water service abandonment, and asbestos removal at 216 North Marion. Recommendation: award the contract for demolition at 216 North Marion to Tim Skinner Trucking and Excavation, LLC, in the amount of $17,780.
Is there a motion?
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Thank you. Jody, go ahead.
We accepted bids until 2 o'clock July 10th for this project. We received 2 bids for demolition and 2 bids for asbestos removal, 1 for water service, and Tim Skinner was the best bid for the demolition of $17,780. The other 2 bidders, Weston McKee was the best bidder for asbestos removal at $4,960, and Dan Larson was the only bidder for the water service abandonment at $1,500. So we'll enter into contracts for both of those things administratively because they are under $10,000.
Thank you for that explanation. Any questions for Jody? Hearing none, take the roll.
Councilmember Rowe,
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens,
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe,
Yes.
Councilmember Berg.
Yes.
Resolution number 198, 2018, fixing an amount for abating a nuisance against 3 properties in the city of Atumwa, Iowa for a total $54,343.12. Recommendation pass and adopt resolution number 198, 2018.
Is there a motion?
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
You can continue.
Thank you, Mayor. Nuisances were abated by the city on these 3 properties, and then we bill the property owners. And when we don't receive payment, then we assess the cost to the property taxes. These are really high assessments because we have 2 demolitions on here. And when you look at the cost of demolitions, you can see that the cost that we are assessing isn't always reflective of the cost that the city is paying directly. We do not have to pay the full cost of the landfill fees, but when we assess these costs, we do assess the full cost of the landfill fees so that if we get that money back, then we can return it to the landfill. So that's one of the reasons why the assessments are particularly high.
Okay. Any questions for Jody? Hearing none, take the roll.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jody.
Resolution number 201, 2018, approving landscape beautification project with signage on the airfield side of terminal building at Atumwa Regional Airport for $19,900. Recommendation pass and adopt resolution number 201, 2018.
Is there a motion?
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Thank you. Good evening, Chris. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Council. This project will give a new look to the airfield side of the terminal, will guide the pilots and welcome guests to the terminal and our FBO Archangel. We'll have the same look as the landscape and signage on the front side of the terminal. The local contractors that was used to create the beautification and signage on the front will also be used for the airfield side, so as to be consistent. The total cost of the project is $19,900, and this project has been approved by the Airport Advisory Board.
Any questions for Chris? Good job. Thank you, Chris. Let's take the roll.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Resolution number 208, 2018, approved change order number 1 and accepting the work as final and complete and approving the final pay request for the 2018 RFP number 12 West Street Curb Project. Recommendation pass and adopt resolution number 208, 2018.
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Thank you. Good evening, Larry. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. This project consisted of the removal and replacement of 270 linear feet of curb and gutter prior to an overlay. The original contract was $16,650, and with quantity adjustments of $270, the new contract sum is $16,920.
Any questions for Larry? Hearing none, take the roll.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Resolution number 209, 2018, accepting the work as final and complete and approving the final pay request, $6,200 to Turner Concrete for the parking ramp supplemental repairs project. Recommendation pass and adopt resolution number 209, 2018.
Is there a motion?
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Thank you. Go ahead, Larry.
This project consisted of removal and replacement of part of the slab in the parking ramp to eliminate ponding water from settlement of the subbase. The bid amount was $6,200 and the final cost was $6,200.
Any questions for Larry? Okay. All right, hearing none, take the roll.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Resolution number 210, 2018, approving DC excavation RFP number 2, Glenwood manholes change order number 1, $550 increase, and accepting the work as final and complete and approving final pay request for $1,069.60. Recommendation: pass and adopt resolution number 210, 2018.
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Thank you. Go ahead, Larry.
This project consisted of installing 2 manholes and reshaping the drainage ditch, thus removing flow from the sanitary collection system in the 900 block of Glenwood Avenue. Change order 1 increases the contract amount by $550 for quantity adjustments. The new contract sum is $10,940.
Any questions for Larry? Okay, take the roll.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Okay. At this time, I'd like to make a few comments and ask council to make any comments on any items that they're thinking about or concerned about, and then we'll also take some comments from the public. Just for public information, we did have the initial comprehensive plan meeting at Bridgeview, and Councilperson Holly Berg was there. And if you want to make any comments, Holly, feel free to do so. But I thought it was a good start to a long process.
Yeah, nothing really other than I thought it was a good group of community members from a lot of different backgrounds to really provide a lot of good input across the board.
The week of July 17th, we had a visit from the regional HUD director. Fran Cleary from Kansas City was here and spent a day at our Ottumwa Housing Authority, which is a separate entity from the city council. But when you have the regional director from Kansas City, it was worth visiting. She was quite complimentary of our program at the Ottumwa Housing Authority and liked the improvements and the changes that have been made. They toured the buildings and also visited with members of the Housing Authority Commission. So I thought it was a nice pat in the back for Malia, our housing director, and just wanted the council to be aware of that. We are, and she made special point to say that we are the second largest public housing in the state of Iowa. And she thought our buildings looked good and that Malia had done a good job of redoing a couple of them. There will be an open house coming up in about a week, and I'd encourage any of the council that haven't been in one of the buildings lately to take a look and see what you think. Another item, we had Economic Development sponsored a State of the Economy. Mr. Zach Mannheimer from Des Moines. He's now with McClure Engineering. He used to be the director of the Social Club in Des Moines. Gave a presentation to about 70 to 80 people at the Bridgeview Center. And I think it was well received by the general public, and gave us some food for thought on a number of items. And one of them is recruitment and hiring of difficult or personnel that we find hard to find. So we're going to take and see if we can use some of the ideas he generated and work on that with our staff here locally. Also, I want to mention that we did have a nuisance enforcement meeting about a week ago. And I think it's important that we say to the public that the council has taken a position that we want to see some active nuisance enforcement. And so the city staff has been made aware of the council intent. We're going to be much more assertive about that to get some of the properties cleaned up, whether it's, again, junk or the placarded houses Jody's working on. But I think it's just important that we're not going to go through the traditional notice after notice after notice, that we're going to give a notice and take action and follow up. And if we have to do the cleanup, we will assess that to their property taxes and take some court action when appropriate. So I just think it's a good information for the public to have. I want to compliment the Public Works Department For those of you who have been down on Gateway Drive, you know that they restriped and redid the parking down there, took the parking out of the middle of the Gateway Drive and put it back on the sides. And I think they gained something like 12 to 14 different new spots, parking spots. And it lends itself for driving and safety, I think, in a much better way. So we're really pleased about that.
Mayor, I think that was River Drive.
Oh, excuse me,
Sorry, just
River
so
Drive.
no one's confused.
Thank you. Thank you for that correction, Holly. That's right. Down by the River Hills building. How's that? Thank you. Last, I would make a comment. We are getting ready for the RV TV, and I think Andy's doing a great job. We had a great hot air balloon race this past couple of weeks, and I heard a lot of good compliments from pilots, and I think it's something, again, that Ottumwa is getting a lot of good press for, so we want to continue to build on those positive things that are happening in our community. Okay, item K on our agenda is public forum input. I think most of the council received a letter from Mr. Rick McClure about Neighborhood Watch Program, and I shared that with Chief McAndrew. So I don't know, unless you have some questions, council, you all received a copy of it. So Chief, is there anything you want to add on this other than we're going to look into it and see what's involved?
Not really. We will look into it and see what's all involved in it and go from there. Keep in mind that we are short personnel.
We know you're short. We certainly appreciate that, but there is interest in it, and we want to see if there's some value to reinstituting. We're no longer a part of that Neighborhood Watch program, but it could be reinstituted if it's something that the public wants. All right, council, are there any comments from individual council? Anything you want us to pay attention to? Holly?
I was just going to point out, if anybody hasn't seen it, because it only appears at night, but there's a new art installation in Canteen Alley that was done through an Iowa Arts Council grant with Main Street Ottumwa and Ottumwa Area Arts Council, and it unveiled on July 13th. And thanks to Larry and his staff for getting the electric hooked up in time for our grand opening of showing that artwork that weekend. But it's just a piece. It's a projection art piece. So at night at about 8:30 right now, it turns on in Canteen Alley and you can go out and see it. And it's just kind of a fun celebration of our community art piece that we were lucky to have Iowa Arts Council involved with to get done.
Thank you for your involvement in that, Holly. We appreciate that. Any other comments? I think I was notified late this afternoon, and it's apparently been released already. Representative David Loebsack did make an announcement about the airport grant award. The city will receive about $3.5 million, and that's part of what we were counting on for the runway reconstruction. So you'll be seeing that in the paper or on the media. Any other comments? Okay, if there's not, I entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Thank you and good night.